Yeah, I haven't really spoken much about what we've been doing on this farm. It's been the last 4 years which we've really had a decent crack at it, and it is profitable. In terms of fertiliser, we don't need it. It's growing quite well. I can see it now that it works. Our soil's changing. The water holding capacity is lifted heaps. So I'm less reliant on as much silage, and the whole system just works. It's a mindset change. As a farmer, it's working quite well for us.
I'm Hamish Hunt. I'm here with Grant Williams today looking at the success that he's had in growing pastures, multi-species pastures, utilising the Soilkee. So Grant, perhaps you could just provide a little bit of background about yourself and the family operation?
Yeah, I farm here with my wife Lisa and myself. We purchased this farm back in 1996, so we're 30 years now. We're farming here with our youngest son, James, and our son-in-law, Andrew. We've been a family farm right through. I've got two older boys that have farmed through here, Ryan and Brett. They worked with us as well, and they've been able to move on and share farm for neighbours, and now they're on their own farms, which is fantastic. We're in West Gippsland, Laura, Athlone. We're in the middle of those two areas. Farming 270 hectares, but 250 hectares of milking area. It's got about a 950 mil rainfall. It's a farm that has a lot of river flats with a bit of rise country. The river flats do flood. They flood regularly, and it's a heavy clay loam type soil, so it does pug quite quickly. You know, it's a soil that it does take a little bit extra management, but that's pretty well the overview of where we are.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So we met about 5 years ago.
Yeah.
When I was trying to get my head around the Soilkee and whether the Soilkee might be something that could be useful for our own activities. And I'd been told pretty bluntly that it was a waste of time.
Yeah.
And by some pretty heavy academics and others in the industry.
Yeah.
And you're now in a state here where you're pretty adamant that this has the use of the Soilkee in a multi-species pasture situation has significant profitability.
Yeah, I haven't really spoken much about what we've been doing on this farm. It's been the last 4 years which we've really had a decent crack at it, and it is profitable. We're able to limit our inputs. We're able to still grow the same amount of production. There's a few expenses that we're able to cut back on, but then there's a few more expenses that we've diesel, labour. It's a little bit more labour intensive what we're doing, but it's the savings are huge, and we're writing down numbers and comparing where we're at. It's getting up. It's $900 to $1,000 a hectare profit, and that's just from savings with inputs. Yes, there's some more expenses that go along with it, but nowhere near the savings. And we're still getting that production jump. So it's working. It's working quite well. By being able to cut off the fertiliser, which you said the expert said you couldn't, well, and I could if I wanted to chuck something on in terms of fertiliser. We don't need it. It's growing quite well, and the whole farm approach is actually working for us in terms of an easier farming practice. We've got the routine going now. We'll sow 50% in the spring, 50% in autumn, and the whole system just works.
Because you've made this comment several times. You drive around and you look at other people's paddocks and you look at your paddock and you're looking at the colour, and that nice solid green is what you're looking for. That's telling you that there's photosynthesis going on. And that leaf, I mean, that's a juicy looking leaf. I'm sure it's super tasty. And yeah, you can eat the salad straight off the plate.
A smorgasbord.
Smorgasbord.
Yeah.
So one of the things that you then start to look at is the way the animals eat this material.
Yeah.
So what do the animals tell you?
This has been 70 odd days since it was sown in March. Even with this long feed, like, they'll smash this. They'll eat it right down to nothing.
Yep.
Yeah.
So if you looked at, how big's this paddock?
This would be 2.5 hectares or something like that. Yeah.
So would you break this up when they come into this? Or
Yeah,
do
yeah,
they get
definitely
fed?
have. And that's the other complex side of our story is the robotics, anyway, the milking shed.
Yep.
So we need to allocate a certain amount of feed for the cows to be fully fed, but then still go back to the dairy,
Yep.
voluntary. So that complicates it a little bit, but it also means that we're strip grazing it anyway. Yeah.
Right. How many animals would come into this space?
Well, not all the herd gets to every allocation in a robotic farm. So we're running 3 different grazing around the farm. So there could be anywhere 80% of the 230 cows would get here.
So you could have 180 cows.
Yeah.
And the space is.
Well, that'll vary depending on the feed.
Right, so you'll break that down.
Yeah,
so
yeah.
now you're talking to, so that could be 180 cows on half a hectare?
Yep.
Yep, right,
Yep.
so that's pretty dense.
Yeah.
Yeah, so in your situation, you've got the capacity to bring them in, you get this feed wedge which is palatable, it's growing, so the height of it doesn't matter because they take it to the ground
Yeah.
with all the diversity in it. So do you see an increase in the rumination time with them in this environment?
We do have the sensors on the collars of the cows, so we're able to see rumination, eating minutes, all that kind of stuff. Everything's about normal. We're about normal with all that. So whether or not the passage through the cow is slightly quicker with this smorgasbord, that you ate a bit of pea there before. It's obviously quite nice.
That's good.
I'm
not so keen on the brassica.
You're going to have a bit of brassica or a bit of chicory. It probably wouldn't be as nice. So the cows are getting that mixed diet. We're also at this time of the year we're feeding a little bit of hay and silage as well. So plus the grain. So there's a mixture of feed.
And that's to up the fibre content.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah, principally.
Yeah. This is pretty lush looking feed. Yeah.
Well,
Well, the ryegrass has always been our hardest part to get right. Is when do you graze the ryegrass in between the Soilkee rows? Because that's how we're sowing all this with a Soilkee machine.
Yeah.
You mentioned before about that, the hectares of feed that's in front of the cows. For us to sow so many hectares every year, and we're trying to do 50% of the farm in the autumn and 50% in the spring. For us to cultivate that, we have to, the only way we've been able to do it, and in the last 4 years we've done 100% of the farm, is because of the Soilkee machine. We couldn't have done it with any other machine because we would have to cultivate the paddock with a disc, paraharrow it, and then sow it, and then wait for that to grow back up, and you'd lose all your ryegrass cover, so it's all got to start from the start again. Whereas the Soilkee goes in and just makes those rows 400 mils apart. Where the rows are, 75 mil is disturbed, the rest is sheeted over top of that ryegrass. That sheeting seems to just give a huge boost to the ryegrass, a massive boost. And then if we're able to give that paddock a chance to grow, so this paddock we're standing in is 70 odd days since it was sown. Yes, it was sown in drier conditions in March, but it's still been able to grow over those 70 days. The ryegrass in between the 2 Soilkee rows has exploded, and now the crops come through it, and we can see the cereals, the peas, the vetch, they've all come up through that ryegrass, and now we're able to go across and graze that, and it is such a mixture of feeds that it allows us to push that rotation out so that we can then see ourselves now getting through the winter on this stored feed.
So that's a security thing?
This is across the whole farm. So we're operating here on 240 hectares of milking area. In the autumn we've sown 120 hectares. In the spring we also did 120 hectares, and that spring sowing grew quite well through January and February. Then we've grazed it, and now the autumn sowing starting to come into grazing. Those spring paddocks that were grazed have had an opportunity to have their 50 or 60 day rest now. So all that brassica and that's coming back. Yeah. The peas are gone, but the vetch is still coming back. The brassicas, the chicory, so the cereals, everything's coming back again. So now we've got this bit of a wedge from a longer rotation.
Nearly magic pudding.
It is.
And it comes back.
and to be honest, we've been dabbling in this for a lot of years now. And initially it was hard to manage. We're only doing a few paddocks at a time, a year. Every year we do, we might do 20 hectares, 30 hectares. And it was hard to get the whole grazing picture right, because it's a little bit, it's a mindset change. It's different.
Yeah.
And it was only the last 4 years that we've said, rightio, we're going to go 100%. We're now able to, I can see it now that it works. We're able to allow these plants to do their thing with the soil, and they're doing a great thing. Our soil's changing. We might touch on this a bit later, but that whole farm grazing is now got a lot simpler. We can give those paddocks a chance to grow, and we're still building that bank of feed in front of the cows. It's a mindset change from grazing at 2.5, 3 leaf ryegrass and focusing on that quality of ryegrass. It's a big change, but it's a change that does work. It's looking good. It's looking really good. And you touched on it before. Do the cows eat it down? Yeah, you bet they eat that down. They'll eat the ryegrass right down, and that paddock will be at a good grazing level. And then giving it another 60 or 70 days to come back, it'll be back up like this again.
Yeah, so it gets to rest now.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that goes, which isn't thought about, is the ryegrass is pretty high sugar. So if you've just got a ryegrass diet,
yep,
there's a need for other things, which can affect how the animals approach a ryegrass dominant paddock.
Yep.
Whereas you see all this, they're just consuming a lot because it's in balance.
Yeah. Oh, they are.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I don't know, I'm absolutely stoked.
Yeah.
It's a great thing to see.
It's taken me a while to focus. Look, it's well over 10 years now since Niels Olsen, who invented the Soilkee machine, come round probably 12 years ago. Come round and let's have a go at a 4 hectare paddock. So we did 2 hectares on the left-hand side of the paddock with the Soilkee machine. At early days was like, we chucked in a bit of peas and there was a bit of cereal. Chuck that in, do the 2 hectares on the left side, and then the other 2 hectares we left. And so it was a really high producing paddock too. It was a paddock that had been a night paddock for a long time with the previous owners, and it's my favourite paddock. So we did that paddock, and it was amazing how where the Soilkee was. Every time I drove past on the lane, you could see this dark green colour compared to the other half of the paddock.
Yeah.
So it grew, and the growth was so much better than the other side. Now the crop that came up started to come up through the ryegrass, but I'm looking at the control bit of the paddock and I'm saying, gee, I need to eat that. And I'm looking at where this dark green ryegrass, gee, I need to eat that as well to get, to get that 2.5, 3 leaf stage.
Because that's the old thinking.
That's how it was, and that's how we were, we used to grow a fair bit of feed. It was okay. We weren't too bad. So then I'm trying to manage this in. So we grazed it, and the peas didn't come back. The cereals got hit a little bit hard as well, and then but the ryegrass still kept coming up nice and green on that half. That was Soilkee. So there's something was happening. So it got me interested enough.
So there's a visual difference at scale between the space that got Soilkeed and the space that wasn't, even though they've both been grazed pretty hard in the way that you would have done. The response was there.
It was still there. It was still there at the next grazing too. Yeah.
So that leads into the soil question, doesn't it?
It does. And what does the Soilkee machine do?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I've had this discussion with Niels a few times on How can that make the paddock go darker green when all you're doing is run the machine through it? Like, seriously, doesn't make sense. Yeah. So, but you know, the Soilkee machine having these hook blades, if you like, you know, 75 mils apart, working up that trench, throwing the dirt over top of the bit in between, which is not cultivated, promotes that higher protein, higher energy feed just by throwing that dirt over the top and having a little bit of composting going on that. And then you've got your trench, which is it is really cultivated well, because you know the rotors are stirring that up, mixing that grass in with that row, and then you drop a little bit of seed on top. And our seed mix nowadays is a whole lot different. Like, it's, as you can see from here, you know, there's 14 or 15 varieties, or probably more, I'm not sure, but there's you know, you've got your cereals, your vetch, your chicories, your brassicas, ryegrass, clovers. In the summer we put, you know, millet in there. There's sunflowers. You know, all these different varieties of plants that are all doing different things now to the soil, and if you can give them a chance to grow, this is what you get, and you get a healthier soil.
So have you seen any plants naturalise in that was a surprise? As in that is now self-sowing, has got its own.
Oh, the chicory.
momentum?
Chicory is coming back all
pretty
the time.
happy to do
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it keeps coming back through the summer months, summer and autumn months. You got this chicory flower, which is, you know, it's a metre high.
Yeah.
And it looks at you and you sort of think, this farm's growing a whole lot of weeds or something. You know, like a lot of people would drive past and say, "What is that? You know, why is that growing?"
It's a beautiful blue.
Yeah, oh, true. It just doesn't.
The bees would be
it just
buzzing.
doesn't look right at the start. But I don't look anymore. It's something that I know. Shortly after I'm looking at that, I'll be actually mulching that back into the ground and sowing over the top of it again. So, yeah.
So do you see an increase in insect activity in terms of dung beetles and all of those things?
I was always a bit worried about the brassicas getting hammered by, you know, the white moth and stuff.
Yep.
They don't get hammered by the white moth. So I don't know whether it's because of the other varieties of plants that are growing around it, but they're able to push through without getting eaten. Whereas, you know, I've grown plenty of crops of turnips here, and you know, you'd have to spray it, because otherwise the paddock would be just white moths flying around. Whereas you see the occasional white moth, but it's not taking over the paddock. Dung beetles, there's always dung beetles here. Yeah, and you know, it's fascinating to watch them destroy a bit of crap. Yeah, yeah, it's really good. Yeah,
They put a hole in it.
yeah, they do. Yeah.
Yeah, we saw a big increase in ladybug population, which seems to deal with the cabbage moth.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah. So we first met 4 or 5 years ago, and that was when I was getting to understand a little bit about the Soilkee, and I'd said to, because we stood at Nelson's place in pretty much feed a little bit like this in August, and we had absolutely nothing at home. So he was busy telling me how the machine was able to do this, and I'm a bit of a, I guess, a skeptic when it comes to these things. We all are. And I said, "You have 3 farms where the Soilkee is being used that you could show me." And we came here and had a look, and we went to a couple of other farms, also dairy farms. And I think the one thing that is important about dairy farms is that dairy farms have to grow feed all the time to feed cows, because when you don't have feed, this large number of the public don't really quite grasp what goes on farm. So you have to have feed if you're running cows, dairy particularly. And that process of visiting those other farms was about starting to understand what the scope and differences in terms of management technique. And every single farmer that is utilising multi-species in a Soilkee adaptive management way, they're all talking about a change in how you think about your pastures, how you think about your soils, in how you respond through the cycle.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I know those farms as well that you're mentioning. It also gives you that little bit of support to say, you know, they're doing it, and we're able to probably bounce off each other a little bit. As I said before, it is a real mental change. You have to get your head around a different pasture. You have to get your head around a different grazing rotation, and then you have to get your head around you know, the whole input side of things, and you know, you don't want to be going backwards to go forwards. So yeah, there's a lot of farmers now doing what we're doing. You know, it's exciting, and you know, that's a real benefit to all of us that are having a bit of a look at it. Is there is others doing the same thing, and we can all learn off each other. Yeah. One of the biggest things we've found is I used to grow a fair amount of silage. I you know, worked pretty hard on getting enough silage to get through the autumn, and then we had, you know, that really bad year where the autumn break didn't kick in early, so all that silage went really fast. So we had to buy hay in. I've been trying to grow that spring sowing of multi-species, which then pushes me through January a bit more and into February with a bank of feed, which means I'm less reliant on as much silage. So there's another saving there in not having to grow as much silage, because we've got this bank of feed that we've been able to push through the summer. You know, there was times over the years where, you know, started December, if it dried right up, you'd be starting to feed silage straight away. We're now able to push those few weeks later than a lot of other farms in this area because
and you get
of that
quite
feed.
quite an amount of moisture sitting on this taller vegetation anyway, so it's going to suck moisture down. Yeah,
well, even with and without getting all scientific, because I'm not a scientist, but the way the Soilkee machine works, the actual the water holding capacity is lifted heaps. Like I can tell, you know, you can push a shovel down into the soil in the middle of summer even. You know, we're putting electric fence posts in all the way through because we've got to keep strip grazing all the time with the robotic dairy. We're able to push them in without having to, you know, get a sledgehammer to bang them in. You know, there's always loose. So that has to be holding more water, which then pushes through into the autumn again. You know, there's extra growth there because we're holding the water in. And then we talked about the pugging damage in the winter. It doesn't seem to make the paddocks any wetter than what they used to get. So you know, we got the advantage in the summer, but we haven't got the disadvantage in the winter from that sowing.
Oh, excellent. So there would be some farmers that would have some trepidation bringing cows into a legume-rich pasture.
Yep.
From a bloat point of view.
Yep.
Yeah, is that something?
I haven't had any. No. So I think it's because the other varieties are there.
Right.
You know, there's still the cereals are there. They're eating a mouthful of that richer stuff, but they're also eating a mouthful of higher fibre. So it's the smorgasbord, which is probably helping that kind of bloat problem that could occur. Yeah.
Right. So what would you say to the community of advisors and scientists that are around that have been pretty dismissive? What would you say to them?
Oh, look, I know science, you know, you have to prove things beyond any doubt, and I can understand where that is, you know, but I think we all need to be open-minded on what's going on. And it's not just farmers, it's also, you know, advisors, scientists. Just get out and have a look at what others are doing. There's quite a few now that are excited about what they're doing. Some of the experiments are very hard to do. Trying to make a trial the same as what we're doing would be really hard to manage. It's almost got to probably go out to farm where the actual practice is occurring, and then try and have the science work in with what the farm's already doing without being too disruptive on the farm.
So really the science needs to come and actually
Well, I think
look.
so, but then you have, you know, beyond a doubt is probably harder to prove. But do you have to be 100% that way? If you're missing something by putting it in a plot and completely destroying the benefits that you might be gaining from a multi-species just to make the plot work, if you like. So it's a tough one, but you know, it'd be lovely to know, you know, just let's get some science, let's see what the soil's doing, and let's get some technical information behind what's going on, because as a farmer, it's working quite well for us.
And that's a checkbook based.
And that's exactly right. Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So the checkbook looks good.
Yeah.
And we're happy and moving. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. That's exciting.